Dr Graeme Groom is an orthopaedic surgeon, British trauma surgeon as well, recently back from treating patients at the Nasser hospital in Khan Yunis and arrived back in the UK only last week. Graeme's been back and forth, working, operating at hospitals in Gaza for more than 40 times since 2009. As you can see, joins us on the programme. Thank you for speaking to us this evening, Dr Groom. Let's begin with what I imagine you are still processing and will be for a long time, given some of the descriptions I've heard you give while you were in Gaza. What is it like there up until the moment you left at the Nasser hospital?
I think the appropriate word is apocalyptic. There is a continuing assault on 2 million people who are wholly defenseless, and from our limited perspective within the hospital, largely blameless. We have spent the last 3 weeks, until last week, dealing every day with the results of these attacks. What we've been doing, we've a team of 5. Every day we have been in an operating theatre with 25 patients on the list, 10 for orthopaedic, 10 for plastic, 5 for dressing changes. We start at 8 in the morning, having been woken by a dawn chorus of bombs. We start at about 8 o'clock. We work through until our lists are finished. We start with the children. This patient that you're showing was one of our patients. But we start with the children, we move on to the women, and then at the end of the day, we see the emergency ones. And that young man, Adam al-Najjar, that you just showed, he was one of them about 2 weeks ago.
Graeme, can we talk about Adam? Because I know I'd listened to you a number of weeks ago, deeply fraught, frantic circumstances within the hospital, because the incident is one of the doctors within the hospital, Dr Alaa, al-Najjar. I think 9 of her 10 children, I think I'm right in saying, were killed in a strike in an apartment block while she was working at the hospital at the time. Her husband also severely injured, and you treated Adam. I think you managed to repair his arm. I want to ask you about that in a minute. I'm hearing this last few days, the two, Dr Najjar and her son, have been evacuated, I believe, to Italy. Let's have a listen to Adam talking about his time. This is while he was in hospital a few weeks ago.
We were at home. Everything was normal. Then they launched a missile at our building. Smoke came out. Then another missile hit us and levelled the entire building to the ground. There were solar panels on the roof. They all collapsed to the ground. All my brothers were killed. My father too. May God have mercy on him. God willing, I will complete my treatment. God will heal me and I will get to live with my family in Egypt. God willing.
I imagine this gets to the heart, Dr Groom, of one of the reasons you do the job and what you managed to do there. Talk us through that and the situation as you understand it as well right now.
Well, it's wonderful to see Adam looking like that, because he was looking totally different on the Friday night when he arrived at the end of our regular list, and this poor little boy was sent to have his left arm formally amputated. Fortunately, we were able to avoid that. We've stabilized his fracture. We have, within the team, we have grafted one of the main 3 nerves. We've established that the other 3 nerves are in, the other 2 nerves are in continuity. His wrist fracture is likely to heal. And it's very good to hear him speaking, because when a young brain is quite so close to a huge explosion, we worry, first of all, about physical injury, and then to what might happen to the brain, what we call a traumatic brain injury. We saw this in Iraq and Afghanistan in soldiers returning who had major cognitive deficits as a consequence of being close to explosions. So to see Adam like that is wonderful. When he arrived in our operating theatre, he was covered from head to toe with small wounds. The first thing that we do in those circumstances is to wash him from top to bottom. And it's only then that we can assess his injuries. He was, in addition to his left arm, he was bleeding from both ears. He has a weakness in his right eye, and he has a broken wrist. I think our main concern is that we may be able to treat and to cure his physical injuries, but we have absolutely no idea how long the mental scars will last and how they will affect him. And if I could just say that he is one child, and we see within Gaza, there are more than 2,500 families who've been completely removed from the population register. There are more than 4,500 families who have one survivor. The al-Najjars have two, Adam and his mother, who is an extraordinarily resilient person.
I listened to you speak a few weeks ago in Gaza incredibly powerfully about how when his mother, Dr Alaa, was asking about not just Adam, but her husband, who was critically injured as well, that she was sitting in the hospital ward, waiting patiently and asking for somebody to treat her husband. That the dignity, the power of her, I guess, appreciation of the situation, of how difficult it was for you to be treating others coming in.
Yes, I have the utmost respect for her. She maintained her dignity. She is, as you see, dressed in black from head to toe, which I think is a sign of mourning, because in her work as a paediatrician, she would not be able to cover her face. And to see that she has at least one of her 10 children surviving and that Adam is well enough to be moved from the hospital to one of the tents surrounding it. Now, you don't share it, but he has the most angelic smile. And a chocolate bar out of my pocket would produce it.
Can I also ask you one thing that you've said as you leave? Am I right to say there is an evacuation zone that's, the forced evacuation zone for Palestinians that have been set up by Israel, and within that, effectively, the Nasser hospital kind of sits like an island. And my question to you is that if that's the case, how do people get in and out of the hospital?
Well, that's the huge question to which I don't have an answer. The red zone, the evacuation zone, has now marched further west, has engulfed the Nasser hospital. It's happened to the Nasser hospital before. The first stage of the suffocation of the hospital is to prevent access. I've been in daily touch with my colleagues, and so far, access to the Nasser is possible. But there are times when it's not. So the staff work double and triple shifts, and of course the patients can't get in and out. We're all absolutely on tenterhooks to think that this may be the end of the last major functioning hospital. I should say that surrounding it, within its catchment, as you might say, there are 6 field hospitals, including in UK Med, the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, with the International Medical Corps Hospital. There are 6 of them, the Kuwaiti Hospital, Jordanian Military Hospital. But the Ministry of Health tell us that all 6 of them do not have the capacity of one department of the Nasser hospital. And of course, none of them have oxygen generation capabilities, so none of them can run an intensive care unit. The loss of the Nasser hospital would be catastrophic. I should say the Nasser hospital also runs the blood transfusion service, which the field hospitals surrounding it do not.
To a complete lifeline, to which there was more than one before. And I know you worked previously in March, I think, at the European hospital in Gaza, which is taken out of action, 27 people killed in Israeli airstrikes. And I guess it speaks of the utter complication of this conflict, which we later found out from the Israeli Defense Force that it killed Hamas's leader, Mohammed Sinwar, hiding underneath that hospital. And that speaks, I guess, going back to, if you listen to the conversation we had with the IDF spokesperson, the need for journalists to be there to verify what's going on in the midst of you trying to do your job as well.
Well, yes, I think that's absolutely correct. We are not journalists. We're not wordsmiths. We lack the language and the skill to give an adequate account of what's happening. And of course, we hear a lot that these hospitals are Hamas command centers. But in the 16 years we've been traveling to Gaza and visiting all the major Ministry of Health hospitals, we have not seen any evidence of that. We had no restrictions on where we go. We had no restrictions on what we photograph. What I should say about the European Gaza hospital was that 2 of our group were there when it came under attack, and they were equidistant from this deep penetration bomb that landed immediately in front of the emergency department door, and about 40 meters from our plastic surgeon in the accommodation and our intensivist in the intensive care unit. And that was the beginning of the European Gaza hospital being put out of action. And as a consequence, we were unable to go there to work.
I also know that, given that we'd heard from the IDF that the claims by Hamas-run organisations that there was severe, and the UN agencies as well, severe risk of famine and starvation, you made it a point to go to the units and see the state of a number of children, cachectic children with severe weight loss and muscle wasting. I also wonder, just in the minute or so that we have, Dr Groom, whether actually you are planning to go back soon, because I'm aware that in deeply distressing times, these things, you need time to think about what you've just seen and witnessed.
I very much hope so. I think the problem in a situation like that, when we know many of the people we like, admire and respect our Palestinian colleagues, I have huge respect for their professionalism and discipline in the most awful circumstances. And leaves us all with a sense of betrayal and abandonment. And I very much hope that we will be able to return as soon as we reasonably can.
Dr Groom, thank you so much for talking to us here on France 24 this evening. Thank you for your time. Dr Graeme Groom, orthopaedic surgeon, just back from Nasser Hospital in Gaza.